Dad, leave work. The bank was robbed. They took Mom. They deprived my daughter of her mother. She has no one to tell her how to do her hair, put on her makeup, or get ready for her first dance. These were the words of Paul Singh, whose late wife, Misty Holt-Singh, was a hostage that was brutally murdered at the hands of Norteno Gang members during a Bank of the West robbery in Stockton, California on July 16, 2014. The perpetrators were all Norteno Gang members, Jaime Ramos, Gilbert Renteria, and Alex Martinez. The getaway driver, who would be wrapped up in this case 4 to 5 months later, went by the name of Pablo Ruvalcaba. Shortly after 2 p.m. on July 16, 2014, a dark-colored four-door Buick parked outside the Bank of the West branch, driven by Pablo Ruvalcaba and containing Ramos, Renteria, and Martinez, who exited the Buick. Wearing hoodies, baseball caps, fake facial hair, and backpacks, armed with heavy-duty machinery, including an AK-47 and other high-caliber handguns. The three of them approached the bank. That is when they saw 41-year-old Misty Holt-Singh, who was using the ATM at the front of the building, where her 12-year-old daughter, Mia, was waiting in the car. Mia watched her mom get dragged into the bank. As they entered, Ruvalcaba left the scene in his Buick. The suspects took Misty Holt-Singh hostage alongside branch manager Kelly Huber, the tellers, including teller Stephanie Koisaya, the branch's security guard, and several customers. Huber recognized the two of the suspects from a previous January 2014 robbery. One of the suspects ordered Huber to open the vault, and though they were disappointed with the low amount of money inside, they still managed to fill at least one backpack with money. From here, things took another turn. And although Huber was unable to activate the robbery alarm, a Bank of the West security employee noticed the robbery on their security camera feed and alerted the police. Additionally, a passing pedestrian witnessing the robbery flagged down a passing police officer who reported the robbery to dispatch. SPD officers across the city, including a group conducting canine training, responded to the call. SPD Chief Eric Jones learned of the robbery while conducting a news interview about new police hires and promptly entered the interview to monitor the situation. At 2:17 p.m., the suspects made it to Huber's Explorer. She had given the suspects a vehicle in hopes that they would just leave. However, what would transpire over the next hour plus would be tragic, shed light on questionable policing policies, as well as the extreme gang violence that continues to plague California and surrounding states. These Norteno gang members, in particular Jaime Ramos, would stop at absolutely nothing to get the money and in the end to get away.
Count them, 35 counts, including 3 counts of murder. 19-year-old Jaime Ramos charged with killing one of the hostages, but today we learned that he's also charged with the killings of the 2 other suspects. KCRA 3's Melinda May is alive now in Stockton with more on the surviving suspect.
Well, I could tell you, I'm looking through this complaint. It's 45 pages long, 35 counts against this 19-year-old man.
Willful, deliberate, or premeditated murder.
19-year-old Jaime Ramos is facing multiple murder charges. Besides 3 counts of murder, Ramos's charges include kidnapping, robbery, car theft, and 22 counts of attempted murder on a police officer.
Murder committed from a criminal street gang member.
Ramos listened and took a number of deep breaths as the judge read the long list of 35 charges. Police say Ramos is one of 3 gunmen involved in a bank robbery and shootout last Wednesday, July 16th. He is the only surviving suspect in the heist. Police say Ramos, along with documented Norteno Gang members Alex Martinez and Gilbert Renteria, robbed the Bank of the West, took 3 hostages out by gunpoint, and fired multiple shots at officers. Police say one of the hostages, 42-year-old Misty Holt-Singh, was used as a human shield.
She was loved by everybody that she met. Everybody loved her. She had no enemies or anything.
Deputy District Attorney Robert Himmelblau says Ramos may face life in prison or could be eligible for the death penalty with all these charges and enhancements.
Everything that flowed from the bank robbery itself, including then the kidnapping and then the taking of the car, everything that flowed from there, they are now all held responsible.
Himmelblau also says the shooting wasn't a big surprise for Stockton.
I was surprised it took so long for something like this to happen. We've had a series of brazen acts in the city of Stockton.
And Stockton police officers are actively looking for that fourth suspect. They believe a man or a woman dropped off the three gunmen in a car, a black four-door car, as the getaway car. Now, Crime Stoppers is offering a $10,000 cash reward for any information leading to the arrest of that fourth person. Remember, you can remain anonymous. Got the latest here from Stockton.
Is that a yes? Is that your true name? Nodding head yes for the record. Count 1 charges you with a felony, willful, deliberate, or premeditated murder. Count 3 charges you with a felony, willful, deliberate, premeditated murder. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, I will appoint an attorney to represent you here today.
We've seen a number of brazen shootings and homicides, broad daylight in this town. The breadth of this is pretty breathtaking, but the brazenness we've seen before.
Same date with the same sentencing enhancements. Count 19 is the same charge: attempted murder on multiple murders, robbery, kidnapping, burglary murder. Count 14 is the same charge: attempted murder on a peace officer alleged to occur on the same date with the same. Could you afford to hire an attorney to represent you? Do you own any assets such as a bank account or house? Shaking the head no.
But she will be missed to leave, and we appreciate everybody's support just on behalf of her family and from all of us here.
I'll miss her phone calls where she'd answer the phone and her first thing to me was, "What's up, babe?" It's the first thing she'd say to me.
She said that to everybody. No one, when she met somebody, they fell in love with her instantly. She brought sunshine to a rainy day, She was just uplifting. I'm just sad that I won't be able to see that anymore.
Well, happening today in Stockton, prosecutors in the case involving two suspects in a deadly bank robbery could be announcing a big decision.
KCRA 3's Leticia Ordaz joins us live from the San Joaquin County Courthouse with what's expected today. Leticia?
Good morning, Darren Deirdre. It's expected to be a very emotional day here at the San Joaquin County courtroom. Prosecutors will announce later this morning if they will seek the death penalty in this case. Next month marks a year that Misty Holt-Singh was killed during a shootout with police after she was taken hostage in Stockton. Suspects Jaime Ramos and Pablo Rubalcaba are charged with the bank robbery and murder of Holt-Singh. The prosecution claims Ramos used the Stockton mother as a human shield during the chase and shootout with police. The victim's mother says she fully supports the death penalty for the men who killed her daughter.
They deserve nothing less. That's how I feel.
The two suspects face a total of 47 charges, including 3 counts of murder because 2 of the other suspects in this case died during that shootout. The big announcement is expected at 10 this morning during the court hearing. Reporting live here in Stockton, I'm Leticia Ordaz.
Facing a judge today, the 2 surviving suspects in a bank robbery and shootout in Stockton pleaded not guilty in court. And today we're learning that trial is not going to start until September of next year. KCRA 3's Melinda Meza is live for us in Stockton. So Melinda, why that delay?
Well, I am told that the trial is set for 2016, next year. That's a year away from now, or more than a year away, and more than 2 years after that happened. And the judge says there's tremendous evidence in this case. Now, today, Jaime Ramos and Pablo Rubalcaba appeared in San Joaquin County Court. Jaime Ramos is facing the death penalty as one of the gunmen involved in the robbery, shootout, and chase with police July 2014. Police say he used hostage Misty Holt-Singh as a human shield. She was shot 10 times. Rubalcaba is accused of dropping off 3 men at the bank. He is facing life in prison. Now, Judge Garber today set that trial for September of 2016, but the DA's office argued that that amount of time is excessive.
The case needs to be resolved. The police worked very hard on it. We have all the information. We're ready to go forward. A long time ago, the Constitution in California was amended to give the people a speedy trial right. And then a couple years ago, Marcy's Law was passed to give the victims a speedy trial right. And I asserted both those rights, and the judge found good cause, which I disputed.
Well, the judge did once again say there's a tremendous amount of evidence that they have to look through in this case. Also, a national independent review also looked into the case and the police officers' actions that day. This has been a very big case here in San Joaquin County. Those 2 suspects are still behind bars while they're waiting for that.
Tonight, the father of one of the men involved in the deadly bank robbery, chase, and shootout in Stockton is speaking to KCRA3. He is supporting the police department and apologizing to the victim's family.
I want to express my deepest condolences on behalf of my family, myself and my family, to the family of Misty Holt-Singh.
The father of one of the robbers who was killed said he felt compelled to speak out after hearing comments earlier today from the victim's sister.
Even though my sister was a victim of a terrible crime, that there are other people out there that have also lost someone, and they have grief that they have to accept. And let's respect the robber's family's grief as well.
Tonight, 2 families are expressing their grief.
And tomorrow night, a vigil will be held for Misty Holt-Singh, the bank customer turned hostage who was killed on Wednesday during a violent crime spree.
KCRA3's Tom Duhane is the only television reporter to sit down with the family of one of the robbers. Tom joins us live now from the bank where it all started. So what is the father saying tonight, Tom?
Well, the father, at least one of the suspects involved, who was robbing, terrorizing the entire community, holding hostages, spraying gunfire everywhere, says that the family is completely devastated. He says the 2 suspects who died were cousins and good friends, and the father is blaming all of this on drug addiction.
I want to express my deepest condolences on behalf of my family.
Gripped with sorrow and shock, Greg Martinez said his first priority was to reach out to the family of Misty Singh, the hostage who died.
I want it to be known that my heart goes out to them. If I could, I would take their pain and carry it for them.
Mr. Martinez is the father of Alex Martinez, the 27-year-old who police say was the primary gunman, who wildly sprayed automatic weapon fire at police during the hour-long hostage chase in Stockton on Wednesday. His father is blindsided.
It's not his nature. I said, nor my family seen this coming. I mean, it wasn't his personality.
Martinez said his son, a proud American Indian, was addicted to cocaine and was going blind. But why the extreme violence?
Maybe it went bad and it was fear. The fear kicked in. To get away somehow.
Martinez said his son was formerly a Norteno who left the gang but never gave up crime. He lived with his girlfriend and their 3-year-old son, Evan.
My mom's devastated. I mean, it just caught her total by surprise. Like all my family members, it's like, where did this come from? You know, it's like I don't know. It's just I still can't believe it.
Martinez said the crime was so terrible, so painful, that he cannot watch the news or read the newspaper. But after he heard the kind words from the Singh family today, he wanted to speak.
My family and I wish to offer heartfelt apology to the entire Stockton community for the ripple effects of this tragic event.
Of course, eventually toxicology reports will tell us exactly which drugs were involved in this crime. But the father says he makes no excuses for his son, and he says Stockton police took the appropriate action to stop him. In Stockton, Tom Duhane, KCRA 3 News.
My daughter was taken from me.
An emotional day in San Joaquin County Court as family members of Misty Holt-Singh face the men who took her hostage before she was shot to death.
They called Misty bad names and even pulled her hair.
Holt-Singh's family in court in tears. It was 2.5 years ago, 3 men walked into the Bank of the West in Stockton, took hostages, and led police on an hour-long high-speed chase and shootout. Prosecutors say Jaime Ramos used Holt-Singh as a human shield from gunfire.
187 on first-degree murder.
Judge Garber sentenced Jaime Ramos to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Pablo Ruvalcaba was sentenced to 25 years before he would become eligible for parole. Holt-Singh's husband spoke one-on-one with KCRA 3 today to answer if he wanted the suspects to receive the death penalty.
In a state like California where there is no death penalty, there's no... It would have just been a life in prison sentence regardless. If we were in a state where there was a death penalty and it was being performed, yeah. I have been waiting for this day to come. In the beginning, I was just living life day to day, trying to get my life back on track. And as time progressed, you want this to end. You want some closure.
Singh says it has been difficult on their children, 21-year-old Paul and 15-year-old Mia.
12-and-a-half-year-old little girl. She's going through that time in life where she needs her mother the most. I took her to Sephora, and she was getting her makeup done, and I went over to the men's aisle, and I just bawled my eyes out.
2 other women who were taken hostage did not show up here in court today. They told prosecutors it would be too emotional. Both of those victims say they are still suffering from physical and emotional injury.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Hope y'all are doing well. Man, I'm trying to keep up with these videos. I got one in the chamber right now that YouTube is just kind of giving me grief on. I can't get it approved, but man, it's going to be a good one as well as this one. So I was doing research, and I was actually having a hard time finding the story with some good news clips to back it up. And I literally on accident stumbled across this story of the Bank of the West robbery back in 2014. And man, it doesn't seem... I'm just getting older, man. I'm in my 30s now. 2014 doesn't seem that long ago, but it was 10 years ago. But anyway, really quick, much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys for continuing to support the channel. Just means more than you know. We're about a year and a month into this. The goal now is 15,000 subscribers, and slowly but surely we will get there. But jumping right into this, this robbery was absolutely tragic because of what transpired. It claimed the lives. So 4 Norteno Gang members. 2 of them died within the shootout with the police. But the biggest tragedy in this is that 41-year-old mother, Misty Holt-Singh. And I want you guys to picture how many things we do on a daily basis that you don't even think about doing, right? When you use an ATM, when you go to the store, when you do A, B, C, D, whatever. You got your kids with you. And Misty Holt-Singh had her kids with her. Her 12-year-old daughter, Mia, is sitting in the front seat. And she watches as these guys, ski masked up, heavy-duty guns, fake facial hair, they grab her mom and drag her into the bank. And I just really want you to think about what would be going through your brain and the fear that would go through that poor kid. That really hit with me. And I'm not one of those where I'm super emotional one way or the other, but really picturing that, I guess she had a dance coming up, and I'm sure that's part of the reason they were getting the money out, just doing regular everyday things. And I think that's what really upsets people when you think about gang violence and other things. It's like, it's one thing if they're shooting at each other, which is still sad, but when you, and I think it's easy for us if I don't have a family member or a friend that was killed by gang violence or was an innocent victim, but you've got to understand the people that are affected by it, why they hate gangs, and why they might be biased or even racist. Because if you're Paul Singh and your wife was killed by Hispanic Norteno Gang members, you can't tell that man how to feel. You can't tell that man what his views should be. And in the long run, these gang members, they just end up hurting their community, their people, their race. Goes for all of them. Hispanic, black, white, Asian, doesn't matter. So the background on this a little. The Bank of the West is an American financial institution headquartered in nearby San Francisco, operating around 600 branches in the Midwestern and Western United States. The branch that was robbed was located in northern Stockton at 7810 Thornton Road on July 16th, 2014. All right, now check this out. July 16th was the Thornton Road branch's final day of business. It was slated to permanently close at the end of the day. So that is crazy. The final day of business. In 2012, the city of Stockton filed for bankruptcy. The Stockton Police Department was greatly affected by the bankruptcy. So this all plays into this, okay? So this is 2 years prior to the actual robbery, which stripped them of 100 veteran officers, reduced the quality of their training, limited their ability to purchase equipment, and forced them to replace staffing losses with inexperienced rookies. The department also lacked police aviation resources and was required to request air support from other surrounding agencies, such as from San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol. And this will come into play here kind of towards the end of this, okay? So, July 16, 2014, 3 armed suspects, they rob Bank of the West in Stockton, California. They take those 3 hostages. So Misty Holt-Singh, who at first I thought she was a bank employee, she's not. Like I said, she's a customer using the ATM. They take, they take the branch manager, all right, and then one of the tellers, okay? So the teller was Stephanie Koisaya. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. Kelly Huber, who was the branch manager, all right? And then you got Misty Holt-Singh. Now, they get Huber's car, all right? They ask basically, does anyone have a vehicle attempting to flee? So you got to picture these guys, what's going through their brain, right? They got a bag of money. They don't get in the vault. They probably got like $2,000, $3,000, split 4 ways. It's a joke. But anyway, they could use. Huber offers the keys to her blue second-generation Ford Explorer. As they left for Huber's car, bringing her with them, they noticed a police officer taking position in the parking lot, and they ran back into the building. The suspects asked Huber for a second exit, but she lies and claimed the only exit was the front entrance. The suspects then, they take the 3 hostages, Huber, Holt-Singh, and Koisaya, and they exit the bank, holding the hostages as leverage. So now they're human shields. An officer who had previously responded to the January robbery. Okay, so remember that in the intro. This place got robbed about 6-7 months prior. Okay, and they basically said that the 2 guys that did it were Gilbert Renteria and Alex Martinez. All right, and Alex Martinez, that's his dad that you see in that news clip I put up of basically apologizing and saying that the police, they did nothing wrong, that his son, he doesn't know drugs, gangs, whatever, but he felt awful. And that's another thing you think about with a lot of this gang violence that you see by these young kids or these guys that are in their early 20s. They have parents, they have brothers and sisters and grandma and grandpas that have to live in these communities. And when these massive, tragic crimes that are plastered all over, I mean, yeah, it affects, the ripple effect is so insane then that people don't really realize that, okay? Now, like I said, Pablo Ruvalcaba, he's like the driver. So he drops him off and dips. Okay, so that's why he doesn't get wrapped up. Because remember, they get dropped off in the Buick. But he leaves. And then after the robbery, they take the branch manager, Huber's, they take her Ford Explorer. So he's out. He's gone. He goes, all right, I did what I'm supposed to do. I'm out. Okay? Excuse me. So the cop was going to shoot as they're climbing into the tire into the Ford Explorer. But he didn't want a bullet to go through. He didn't want to strike a hostage or a bystander, which I understand that. All right, so then a pursuit kicks off. So the robbery, and guys, this is what's so crazy about these bank robberies, is it all happens so fast. 2 o'clock, they enter the bank. The pursuit kicks off at 2:17 p.m. The suspects made it to Huber's Explorer, and after entering the vehicle with hostages, ordered Huber to drive through the parking lot exit that was not blocked by police. 5 blocks from the bank, a suspect in the back accidentally shot, I'm like, oh my God, shot Huber in the leg. The bullet passed through her thigh and her ankle, shattering the bone. Now check this out, though. This was the biggest blessing in disguise for Huber. As she could no longer drive, the suspect at the front opened the driver's side door, shove her out, picture somebody getting pushed out of a moving vehicle. They jump up, they take her seat, and driving away with the remaining. Now we're down to 2 hostages, all right? Huber survives, treated at the scene by officers before an ambulance transported her to a hospital. That accidentally getting shot is the reason she's still alive to this day. Shortly after, a SWAT team secured the bank and freed the remaining hostages. Several blocks from the bank, the rear windshield of that Ford Explorer was blown out by gunfire from the suspects. Now, this is nuts, dude. One suspect armed with an AK-47 took position at the rear of the vehicle. Now, those AKs, those are going to blow through police body armor. I don't know if you guys remember the West Hollywood bank robbery that happened in the early 90s where the 2 guys, they were like Armenian or something. It was, I'll be honest, it's kind of a badass video to watch those guys in body armor head to toe shoot it out with like 200 cops. I'm just saying. It is. I don't care. I don't care if you agree with it or not. I'm not saying I agree with it. But to watch 2 dudes Kevlar down, head to toe, bang it out right there in the middle of broad daylight in West Hollywood, that's something out of a movie. If you presented that script to Hollywood, it might be too unbelievable. Google that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, type that in on YouTube. But anyway, so they get an AK. They're shooting at the AK. All right. So at 2:20 p.m., the suspect with the AK-47 fired at the lead pursuing police officer, destroying its tires. Further shots were fired at the intersection of Thornton Road and Wagner Heights, and the suspects continued to sporadically fire at police throughout the pursuit. SPD units across the city, so remember, Stockton Police Department, told to remain in their respective beats, could not bear standing, and this is where I understand from the cops' perspective. They basically were like, nope, hold off, stay where you're at. Eventually, the cops go, F that, we're going. Standing by while hearing the pursuit unfold over their radio. So you got pictures of a cop. You got your friends, your coworkers. They're getting blasted by AK-47s and handguns. And hostages, it's like you're a cop. Your instinct is you're going to go help, okay? Hearing the pursuit unfold over their radios and join the pursuit. Several officers messaged their loved ones out of fears they would be hurt or killed, while others tried to rationalize the danger they were in. By 2:33 p.m., the pursuit continued northbound on California State Route 99 toward Lodi. By now, the pursuit had reached approximately 120 miles an hour, and over 50 police vehicles had joined the pursuit, including the SPD SWAT Lenco Bearcat armored vehicle. And if you guys saw the picture, that's insane. And San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department plane. Remember, they have to ask for aero support because they went bankrupt a couple years prior. Police briefly lost the suspects as it left the freeway into Lodi, but they were eventually located and returned to Route 99. After passing through Lodi, the suspects briefly left Route 99 before returning to the freeway southbound back to Stockton. At 2:48 p.m., the Explorer pulled off the highway at the Murata Lane exit, using the trees and brush at the exit in an attempt to ambush the pursuing officers. That is crazy. So these guys are still on the offensive. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Most people and criminals, right? You do something wrong, you're running, you're just survival mode. I'm trying to get away. 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 These guys are still, after running for almost an hour, okay, we're going to park in these bushes. We're going to park behind these trees. And when they come, we're blasting them. I mean, that is crazy. Okay. So they try to ambush these guys. Stockton Police Department Captain Doug Anderson, who was responding to the pursuit and had been attempting to intercept the suspects, noticed the Explorer and, realizing what they were doing, shot at the suspects, forcing the Explorer to flee westbound on Murata Lane. In retrospect, police were certain that had Anderson not noticed the ambush attempt, this is nuts, the suspects likely would have killed an officer. Minutes later, the Bearcat, remember that's that huge SWAT tank-looking vehicle, attempted to perform a pit maneuver on the Explorer, but missed. The suspects promptly shot out one of the Bearcat's tires, forcing it to withdraw. These guys were doing work, man. These guys were doing work. You disabled a tank, basically. All Around 2:57 p.m., the suspects went on I-5 towards Stockton. I-5 runs all up and down the West Coast, okay, towards Stockton for 8 miles before pulling off the highway, attempting to set up another ambush. They get noticed again, pursuing officers of this, and the suspects and police briefly exchange fire before the pursuit continues. This is how we're going to get down to just one hostage, all right? After the pursuit entered a residential area of Stockton, Quisaya, who was the teller, noticed the Bearcat, and fearing being caught in the crossfire between SWAT and the suspects, she discreetly unlocks the door of the Explorer to escape. At 3:15 p.m., she leaps out of the Explorer as it was traveling at 50 miles an hour. Several officers pulled to the side and treated her injuries before an ambulance could arrive. The suspects eventually returned to Thornton Road, where they encountered several officers on foot. The suspects and the officers exchanged gunfire. The officers managed to shoot out the Explorer's tires. Half a mile later, the Explorer came to a stop on a 4-lane stretch of road. So now we're down to one hostage, okay? And, it's unfortunate. She probably didn't have an opportunity to get out. She's probably in the middle. Huber, she's driving. She actually gets shot. She gets out. They say, you're worthless, get out. Quisaya, she's thinking on her feet. She's fast. And it's fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. She's an opportunity. She knows what's coming. If she stays in there, 50 miles an hour, rather be badly injured, break some bones, than dead, okay? So the pursuing officers stepped behind the Explorer and fanned out across the street using cruisers, trees, and street furniture as cover. Officers promptly opened fire on the vehicle, firing over 600 rounds at the suspects before a lieutenant ordered the officers to cease fire. And this is nuts. Several officers noted chaos and confusion as other officers fired in the general direction of the Explorer and not at specific targets. The Bearcat arrived, and despite having a tire disabled, was used as moving cover for SWAT team as they approached the vehicle and opened the doors. This is where things get pretty sad. Renteria and Martinez were both fatally shot by police. Though only one of them died at the scene, it is unclear exactly who. The other suspect was alive, but died while being transported to a hospital. Holt-Singh, this is so sad, was dead, lying on the floorboard of the Explorer. The SWAT team found Jaime Ramos lying under her. This is nuts. Not only was he alive, he was practically unarmed. And they say, this is what really pissed people off, Jaime Ramos used her as a human shield. He surrenders, he's taken into custody, and it was later determined that Holt-Singh died from officers' gunfire. She was hit about 10 times, according to Stockton Police Chief Eric Jones. A report found that 33 officers fired at the vehicle, most of them during the final shootout. Pablo Ruvalcaba, who dropped off Ramos and the 2 other men at the Bank of the West, he ends up pleading guilty to Holt-Singh's murder, and he ends up getting the 25 to life. Like I said, he's a person of interest. They let him go in September. And then he gets formally arrested and charged in December at the end of 2014. Ramos and Ruvalcaba previously faced, and then they charge him out. Okay, and those are the videos you see. Now, Jaime Ramos, his change in his physical appearance, it threw me off because I couldn't keep up with, how he looks with the Mongol Norteno haircut to shorter hair, comb over. He looks like a completely different person after doing time in jail. And I know you guys are like, well, duh, he's been in jail. I don't mean that. I literally mean like his facial structure and with the hair. I'm like, he looks different. It was determined that 700 to 1,000 rounds were fired by police at the suspects. Over the course of the pursuit, 14 police vehicles were damaged or disabled by gunfire. The 33 officers who discharged their weapons over the course of the incident were questioned and put on administrative leave. Okay. The police chief had to do his political stuff. He visits the surviving hostages as well as Holt-Singh's family, apologizing for what happened. Blah, blah, blah. That's all political fodder. This is where I part with the police and the prosecutors. And, we care so much. And no, you don't. You don't care. You want to make all you guys want to do is cover your ass. And hopefully they don't sue us, which does end up happening. Holt-Singh's husband and her family sue the police, which, it's easy for me. I'm sitting here as a YouTuber telling police what they should and shouldn't have done in a massive hostage situation, a deadly shootout. I'm not one of those armchair quarterbacks that's going to say, they did this wrong and that wrong, and how dare you. Being a cop is a hard job. It's hard as shit to do a job like that. And I would never say it's not. Whether you like the police or don't like the police, you can't tell me they have an easy job, okay? Where I part a little is that final shootout where it said 33 officers shoot 600 to 700 rounds. It's like, that just doesn't make sense. I don't get it. I get that they were being ambushed. I get there was an AK-47, but I'm just like, man, and I get it. They talk about with police. It's like, at the end of the day, they got wives, they got kids. They want to go home. I would too. I understand, but I guess I'm a little bit like, man, almost 35 officers with 1,000 rounds of ammo. It just seems a little much. So, like we said, these guys are Norteno Gang members. And for Stockton, you guys understand, Stockton's a very, it's a beautiful place in ways, but it's also very, like they said, it's a poor city. The economy is not thriving in Stockton, California. Okay, it's a city that went bankrupt 12 years ago. What we were talking about in the beginning, that correlates to what happened 2 years later. And that's kind of why I wanted to say that part first, because remember how it said 100 veteran officers were done. Then they had to hire basically people that they wouldn't normally hire and a bunch of rookies. So then you correlate that to 33 officers shooting almost 1,000 rounds at this Explorer. Makes you think, right? Well, anyway, so the two Renteria Martinez, they're dead, okay? Jaime Ramos and Pablo Ravalcuba, he's the driver, he's a 25 life. Now, the one we really focused on, and you can see in the news, he was like, they were saying he was kind of the leader, even though the police had suspected those two, Renteria and Martinez, of robbing the bank back in January. But it also talks about how they were investigating this Norteno set and those guys all the way back in like 2008 for methamphetamine distribution. And they were on these guys for a long time. So Ramos, the only surviving robber, was taken into custody. Because remember, Ravalcuba is not a robber. He's a getaway driver. He was taken into custody. He's charged with 3 counts of murder, 22 counts of attempted murder of police officers, 22 attempted murder counts. And like they talk about, he used her as a human shield. Now, he ends up looking like at the death penalty. And they're talking about that, seriously talking about that. He ends up pleading it out, life, no parole. And, they interviewed the husband, and he says, I wish he could get the death penalty. But, when we talk about California, they have it, right? But they're phasing it out. Had he gotten the death penalty, he would have never been executed. But this was a very intense case. I'll be honest, it's one that I'm surprised I haven't come across sooner. But I really hope you guys enjoyed it, because I really enjoyed making this video. But man, again, just to end you with a little note on drugs and gangs and all that stuff, guys. That's what the Martinez's dad, he's talking about the drug use, and all these guys basically said these guys were using meth. And a lot of gang members do. They're doing drugs, they're partying, you're not in your right mind. And you can see, I know you guys saw, because they mentioned it in the news clips. Do you see Jaime Ramos as he's getting read those charges? He looks like he's going to pass out. He's taking deep breaths, right? He's nodding. He looks terrified. He looks like a scared little kid. He does. Looks like a scared little boy. Obviously he's not. Obviously he's a murderer, and he's where he belongs. But I'm just saying, I guarantee you, the day of that whole thing, not a one of them was sober. And I'm going to leave that at that. I appreciate you guys, and until next time, you know what it is. Peace!